All right. Welcome aboard episode 117. All right, 117. That was in the burn run and then Candy X-Men. I can't remember which issue that was. I think that was part of the Savage line. Maybe it was right after. But anyway, hey Michael, how's it going? Actually, this episode I can show all 3 steps on this page because I actually messed up on this page, so I can show you one of my fixes, one of my cheap fixes. This was that page that we started actually a few episodes ago, a couple episodes ago, and I finished it off camera. I didn't even post a picture of it, but I was happy with how this panel came out of the spongeman coming to the surface, getting that deep breath, and then these are the other spongemen that were already at the surface just talking about work. Got their little sponges on their heads. Good to see you too, man. This was the original prelim. You can see the differences and the choices that I make as it goes. When I did this originally, I just kind of had the figures floating in open space, and I decided to frame those and try to give them movement by showing the water, like when someone dives in the water, little bubbles coming off of them. So that was part of the... Hey, how's it going, guys? I got your text. That was a very nice drawing that you sent me, so thank you. I meant to write you back. I was driving when you sent it to me. I just saw it pop up on my screen when I hit directions up. And yeah, those are the same types of studies that I do all the time, so you're well on your way. I'll take a closer look and I'll write you back. But yeah, this was one of the pages we finished. I love doing the sound effects. It's like one of my favorite things of working in comics. Jay says, now that's a chin. That's right. And this is page... Well, before I switch over, when I first did this page, I was working on another version of it, and I just wasn't happy with the pencils and how it was looking. So I went in and just used a cheap marker to like darken lines, make adjustments, and then I used my light box to transfer it over to the next page. And you can see the differences, like just the type of expressions that I changed as I went over to the next page and made it more how I was looking for. Put that in the big pile of finished pages. Here's last week's page, or yeah, this past week's page. Where we have the beep beep beeps. We have Professor Prawn buried in wires, and then we see, the beep beep beeps continued. And the way that this scene works is this is the continuation of the scene after he punches the sub, and then this alarm starts. And they start hearing this alarm, and we are introduced to this scene. And we will not go any further right now with this scene of the Spongeman's commissary. As you can see, there's the original joke from the first Undersea Hero short, so duh. It's my stupid play on words joke. Of course, the note on the microwave, as we all know, in all offices, no fish. But yeah, the commissary, the lunch counter area, is basically between 2 of the giant fuel tanks. So I wanted it to be this gross, weird thing. And then I used this is a really simple way to establish the floor of a space, and that's just to use a simple grid. And I eyeball the spacing after about this point. This was measured out because I could put the little marks over off the page here. But then as I got here, I just kind of eyeballed spacing it out a little bit more and a little bit more because the camera gets closer. And it creates that illusion that it's further away than it actually is. But yeah, that was page 38. And then this is page 39. As you can see, we showed Professor Prawn in that pile of wires. Now here he is holding up 2 ends of a wire, and he says, please work. And he slams them together. And then these are the eyes of the front of the sub lighting up with Undersea Hero and the correlator swimming ahead of them. So you can see here on the pencils, I've got them framed by those eyes, and there's going to be light coming out. You can see there's a shot that I worked on last night to show, the dramatic lighting. And he's like, yes, finally, my plan is at hand. And another hand-done sound effect of when the electricity pops. But there's a lot of tense and subtle bits in these two figures that I actually think has a lot of potential if we can finish the drawing without taking that out of it. Like little bits and angles that I think with the arm twisting in towards the figure, the foot twisting back, this twisting out, and just between the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. And then over in the correlator, we have this hand going away from the camera and the depth here. And then coming back and leading this chunky elbow area back to the shoulder socket and then down, and then a little bit. And this leg comes down. You can see the back where those tendons are, and then the back of the foot. And then same thing with this hand coming forward. There's a little bit of a dip in the wrist. And again, people may not notice this when they're reading the book, but to me, it imbues the figures and the pictures with, as I mentioned in the description of the video, narrative value. And that's when you're not just kind of phoning it in and throwing, lifeless figures onto a page, which I've, of course, been guilty of. I think every artist has, be it just not realizing the potentialities for a scene or not having time or any number of reasons. But in this, I'm obviously taking the time, so I want it to be imbued with narrative value. Because that's really the job of the person drawing the pictures, is to give visual narrative value. The writer can write, all the beautiful literary bits that they want, but if the artist does not give it the proper gravitas, it will not be a good comic. And because our light source is so strong ahead of them, you can see, obviously, like I tried to use just some classical framing. Like these are white, bright eyes. So we're going to actually have a ton of shadow. There's going to be very little you see of the main back of the figure. So you're going to see me outline this figure, and then you're also going to see like a lot of it get blacked out with shadow as I am kind of carving into it. Little things, just knowing where the breaks are, knowing where muscles go in front of bits of clothing. Just trying to think my way through the piece as I work on it. And I'm also just wanting to have some, have a fun picture to look at, like the idea of a little shrimp in a lab coat with crazy hair mashing two things together. It's fun for me. I actually am finding that I'm liking the pages with the creatures on them more than the ones with just the people on them to draw. I don't know if in the future any story would be just creatures, because I think there is a balance between having people and animals. It's not just like a Bugs Bunny situation where they're all creatures. I did pull some artwork by some other artists that we'll take a look at to kind of illustrate some of the things I look at when I'm talking about narrative value. It gives me something to talk about, especially if people don't have any questions or have anything they want to chat about. I did get invited to a couple of things, but I did decline them. I got invited to like a Halloween signing. I just don't have time. I gotta keep working on pages. I gotta keep working on paperwork. I've got some stuff. Brian, I got a couple of things I gotta mail to you from Baltimore. the mail. Might not be till like Thanksgiving or the holidays. For my screen got bumped a little bit. There we go. I don't know why that shrank. If anyone ever read any of the Jim Aparo Aquaman, he always had like this little bit of hair that was floating in the front that was kind of like shorthand for underwater hair. Oh, Bob's got some stuff for it. I actually have a thing for Bob. I have to go over to him too. I haven't seen Bob since Baltimore. So I did see Tom. Saw Tom last weekend. Made it up to Quincy. Made it up to the Quincy NEC. And let me tell you. I mean, I think people take for granted how good of a comic book store that is. Just remove the fact that I have, obviously a vested interest in the store. I was able to walk in, and before I said anything to anyone, just go up to the new release rack, and books that are sold out elsewhere, they still have, a handful of copies of it. Like the Greg Capullo Wolverine, I was able to pick that up. Yeah. And then floated over to the dollar bin, which they had finally rejuvenated. Tom had accused me of not having been around, but there are books in some dollar bins at stores that I have seen there for years. And such had been the case at NEC for a while. Even though it had legendary dollar bins for years, Tom had legendary dollar bins. Legendary. I got the first Taskmaster out of that dollar bin. Not in perfect shape, obviously, but like I was able to read it in its original form, as it was intended to be. I once tried to explain how I do my shadows to someone, and it made no sense. So I try to think of it as pieces of like reflective pottery. What we want is really good silhouettes. So we're thinking about the shapes of things and how they react with one another in space. I'll pull out one of those pieces of art to show you if you want, out of my collection. I've got a couple here where I think they really do show really good narrative value. This is a page by Ron Garney, and this is where he had inked himself, and this is a page from Justice League, JLA Reign, issue 102. And you see the Flash here with his hands open, just this tiny little figure. And when this is reproduced, it's 2/3 the size, so it's just a little stick figure of a character. And you can see Superman with his arms crossed, and there's some defiance in that figure. Wonder Woman, John Stewart, Martian Manhunter, and then the Flash from his hands being open, and just that little bit of physicality of him putting his hands together, like saying, like, God, there has to be something that fixes what's going on here. There's something wrong. Things are going poorly. He's talking about this, and then you see the reactions of all the characters. And these are simple shots. These are not complex shots. And it's so like the emotional weight of just his hands going from open to closed, his expression. And then you see the defiant Superman with his arms together, looking like almost like standing at attention. And then his head drips forward. his head, he starts to look down and lose that form. Just from this, you can see the way his shoulders are, just in this one panel, how he is, that he has gone from this solidity to what the Flash is telling him, to losing that. And Wonder Woman just looking forlorn at John Stewart, not knowing who to look at. And so he's seated here, so he's looking to the left at the Flash, and you can see his eyes are looking left. Martian Manhunter is standing here, we've established in this shot, and he's looking down. And then you get the close-up with the weighted facial expression. I mean, I think of that as a great, just, I saw this in the pile, and it was a little more expensive than I normally buy because it has like this big panel at the top. And there's these simple backgrounds, like this spotlight, this dramatic lighting, simple technology bits in the background, just surrounding and framing that great little character interaction, all based around this one shot of the table. But that's one of the pages I pulled. And I've got a couple more that I can talk about. And this is one of my showstopper pages. This is an Alex Toth page, and this is from Weird War Tales number 10. And we show the weight of this figure walking down the steps, carrying this person. And you see those simple lines. There's so few lines there, and that's what you want from a Toth piece. And this is penciled and inked by him. And then he takes that next step, and you see the weight as he comes through this door and down, and this battalion sees him and starts making comments. And then these two panels right here are like the showstopper panels for me. The overlapping and the look over to the left, and they're talking about whether or not this place is haunted. And Jim, you see this character right here go from angle to the left, looking down, to fully turning, and you see the turn and the weight of everything in his jacket. In this long coat, you can see them, but these two lines right here are enough to show you that he's turning and going up. Like just the fluidity here, and that the way the foot is perpendicular, it's not just parallel, curved and up and to the left, as if he's rushing to go up the stairs, and he's ready for that foot to bend back down like this and push off this step right here where his foot is coming down. I mean, that is narrative value in a nutshell. Weight when walking, the way you show a turn. I mean, yeah. Anyway, we'll go back to my silly little drawings about talking shrimp. Pretty much all this here. You have a little bit at the top there. It's not blacked out. So that we can show some of the texture of his shirt. You know, he's got that crisscross texture. I'm gonna black out his hair. He's got light colored hair, but yeah, no, I mean, there was a point in art collecting days where you could get pages like that for, human prices, I would describe. The Toth page was the most expensive page I ever bought. I ended up having some money come my way, and it was like, what do I do with this? How do I buy something that I like and it's an investment? I figured world-class comic book artwork would suffice. And here, because of where the light is, there's actually two sources of light, so we've got to leave some rim lighting along the edge. I'm prepared to show that coming from over there, and that's why we also didn't fully block everything out over here. I just needed to know where the shapes were. And again, we're going to have some light coming up there, so we need a little bit there, and just a little bit in the back. So figure in. Just kind of rough it and black for that. Maybe a little bit there at the top. Thanks, Jay. Jay says, dig it. Got a fair number of folks in here tonight. Thanks for everybody for popping in. I don't know. I mean, you folks have read a ton of comics. You folks know your stuff. I mean, if there's some artists that you know that you like, I mean, Jack Kirby comes to mind. Certain ones that imbue narrative value more than others. I had this conversation with another artist who'd done a fair number of covers, and they, talk about how like the trend of the pinup cover overtook the narrative cover some time ago. We were both kind of lamenting that. Just because of the comics we grew up reading, as old people now, have so many of those covers that have captions on them, that have different speech balloons, There's certain ones that I'll never forget. Like one issue of Sensational She-Hulk where it was like Moonlight and Machismo, the character Machismo, was like the bad guy of du jour on that issue. I remember that. And I think there's a classic Captain America cover of Avengers where he's standing there with his shield up when they announced the new team, and it was just the Avengers Assemble. It's a Kirby cover. He's got the shield above him. I don't remember what issue it was. Ethan says hello from Bakersfield, California. Hello, Bakersfield. Hello, Ethan. Nice to see you this evening. You guys rooting for the Dodgers out in Bakersfield? I don't know if you're a baseball fan. I don't know if you and I ever talk baseball. Okay, yeah. Ethan says bleed blue here. So yep, Dodger country. Vin Scully fans. Finish this part of this hand. Got ahead of myself. Finish the hand. Now, one of the tricks I can do when I go in here is I can actually take some white out, and then after I draw this in, I can add a little bit more of the texture of its shirt into the shadow, and that's a nice way to add a little bit of extra detail in there that can pick up some color. The correlator can be tough to draw just because his face is a little different. characters that I usually draw. It's a little bit more angular. It's kind of shaped like a helmet. If you think about like the old like Greek battle helmets is what I think of. Again, not a reference I think many people would think of when they think of Undersea Hero. What's he looking at for that head? Oh, he's just looking at Marvel Comics or something. No, because I have a hard time looking at someone else's interpretation of shape and then necessarily being able to recreate it or put that in my own. Uh, are we still on track for November release for Undersea Hero? I don't know. I'm just trying to have it done by the end of the year. I would like it to be. It just depends. I've got a few really hard pages coming up, like double page spreads. When I get through those, I think I'll know more or less when everything will be done. Getting COVID, I'm throwing out my back. Again, more stuff that has put me through the ringer. Brian says a little more modern artist who likes Mike Logan. Yeah, I know Mike a little bit. I've seen him around. Um, he did a book for Dynamite called The Black Terror with Jim Kruger, and I actually think that's probably my favorite work of Mike's. Yeah, getting COVID, I couldn't draw for beans when I had COVID, so that was like 2 whole weeks of like barely being able to do anything. Believe me, I want this book done more than you know, and it has caused me a great deal of anxiety and stress. I work on it every day. Just do that till it's done, and hopefully I don't make too many people mad whenever it gets finished. Thanks, Michael. He says Undersea Hero pages look great. Trying, man. I just want it to be a book that people don't immediately want to throw out when they get it. Ah, this thing. I have some help with doing some of the flats and coloring, so hopefully that stuff will move pretty quickly. And actually, one of my favorite parts of working on a book is the lettering, and that'll be fun to work on. And I'll keep posting. I will once I get color pages. I'll keep throwing some color pages up. I won't put every page up, but I'll show a panel here on a page or whatever. I try to keep everybody abreast of exactly where I'm at on the project. I've been trying to, I figured from the beginning doing the weekly live stream would keep people in the loop. Although I've had some people tell me that because they don't look at my social media or they don't look at my website or anything, that they haven't been able to keep up with it. But I don't know. I can only post in so many places. I probably am due for a Kickstarter update, though. I should probably do one of those like on the 1st. Michael says he's been coloring his strip book this whole week. He did 3 more pages of coloring. Hopes to get more done tonight. Yeah, the coloring stuff moves along at a pretty good clip, especially if I have help with the flats. And yeah, a Sunday style flat color. I mean, I have always liked impasto painting, flat colors. It took me a long time to find a way to do it in my work in a way in which I was happy in illustrative work, so like comics and stuff. Because I've been told for years, no, you got to color it like this, and I was never happy with that coloring style. But as you're saying, you're coloring with yours like the old school newspaper feel to it. That's where I've found my comfort zone with these sorts of things. I can't even tell you how many months of my life I spent rendering on some of those digital color projects. Like even on the Tick, when I was doing like In Borneo Reborn that I did the colors for, I had help on the flats, but it still took me forever to do that coloring style. And it's even less complex than like some of the big name coloring stuff there. Some of them out there, like they'll have like 10, 12 layers on each page. And it's just, my pages had, I think, 4 layers. And it still took me forever. Yeah, because we have to get to page, I believe, 52. We're on page 39. So I'll keep cranking, let everybody know every week just where I'm at. And it's also part of the reason why I'm considering not doing any sort of Kickstarter in the future. Just the amount of stress involved with like getting behind and then having to move things and life stuff. And people are very understanding for the most part. I just there's a lot of pressure I put on myself to deliver this and have it be a good project. And yeah. It's really the stress that I think is going to keep me from doing Kickstarters in the future. Not wanting to repeat this level. I think I would consider working with other people on Kickstarters in the future, but I just don't think I would do a solo one by myself again after this project. I appreciate it, Brian. Like, obviously this book wouldn't happen without you, man. Actually, I got my margins. I accidentally moved my margins to the left on this original a little bit. I can just slide it over digitally. I've already got to chop off like the corner here just because it's got a bend in it. Tonight we'll probably just work on pencils, maybe. So thinking. If we could finish penciling this page tonight, I feel like that's a pretty good spot where we can start inking it tomorrow, get the inks done by the weekend, start up another one on Saturday, Sunday. That's kind of been my pattern. It's been about 2 pages, get 2 pages in a week lately. And I know I need to move faster, but yeah. That's too high. I'm going to look at my earlier pages for reference. Oops. I'm not sure where that went. I think I have the original pages right over here. So. There we go. You see the top of this where the eyes are? We're going to make those a little bit pointier. And we're going to raise the head up a little bit. Back a little. Pointier. And the head comes up there like this. You're not going to see that. It's just a bit for the eyeballing. Jimmy Reyes Art says, "Oh, hello. How are you, Jimmy? We actually got a fair number of YouTube followers this week. I don't know what prompted it, but welcome aboard, anybody that's new here. It's pretty much the watch Ian try to get this book done until it's done show, even though I just call it live drawing these days. It used to be I would draw sketches or all kinds of things on here, but really it's just marching to get this thing, try to get this thing done. Really, the hope is that the iconography has been set up at this point that I can just show part of the front of the ship, and you're going to be able to tell what it is. Lift this up a little bit. Just okay. Just too many little dots. 3 dots. 4 dots. 4 dots. And then over. come back up here and get to work on our little Professor Pond panel. Quarter to 9. We should probably be able to finish these panels for tonight. See Professor Prank's swirly, crazy eyes, which he has going on here. Ron has become one of my favorite characters to draw, just because he has like no rules to how you can bend his expressions. Hey, thanks, Ethan. As many of the artists in the, I'm sure in the chat can attest to, the one-person operation is tough. So, appreciate everybody supporting and saying the nice stuff and helping me work through this thing. Michael says to Jenny, your art on the black and white book I got from you was really good. I'll have to check out your page, Jenny. Penciling stuff like this, it's really just to give me notes for when I go in with the inking stuff. And take out the pens and the brushes and everything. Brian says, I like the way the top of his pussy mustache appears just above the bottom of the pan. Just a little bit. Just a little indication of the big fluffy mustache. Just a little bit of the hair hanging down at the top. Not too much. You see more of that from the shadow that casts. I just do a lot of shaping, where I'm really just working my way through, kind of figuring out what are the lines. The right line is in there somewhere. Just have to, when I go to ink, pull it out a little bit better. Some people have to be really precious going into their penciling stage, and I've never been that person. Some of my favorite pencilers of all time, just kind of chunk it out. Like Rick Leonardi, he's one of those guys that will just get your geometric shapes in there, and then he just grabs his pen and then works his way through it. You kind of have to mimic where this is because he's not moving. So we put that stroke down. Eye is basically here, so we're going to actually see less of the eye. Ooh. Put some more information down where. Exaggerate the cat's shadow. Ooh, I'm sleepy. Exaggerate this guy's shadow. So I can get over there, maybe coming out in this direction. Raise that up a little bit. I don't know if this is going to have like any solid black areas beyond this point. Some of this we'll be able to achieve through color, so we don't have to go quite as vast. Use my shorthand texture to remind us what it is we're looking at, but we don't have to overdo it because it gets bright light. And then I'm also going to definitely use spatter on this page, so there's going to be even more stuff that just gets kind of blown out. And there's just going to be just a wall of like, there's going to be yellows and just different colors coming out. And I think our main lines need to come out like this. Like this. Here. 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 Should pull out some of this noise here, some lines are there. I don't want to show the jaw. There's a jaw at the bottom of the fish, as we know. You've seen it. We got to see that. See, it's got this big jaw. So you only want to come down so far until it completely blacks out again. You can see the exuding silliness at this point, I believe. That's my interpretation at least. And I'm just gonna, when I get into inking this, there's gonna be a lot of just organic going by feel, man. I think there's gonna be, we're gonna need to frame this so like our extended shadows probably come up to here. See this arc here? And at the base of this arc, there's actually going to be a balloon right here that says, at last, Curl Force. There's either no balloon or just that, or just an ellipses, that like that. And this is just for me to know where I want to have filled in space. Because you can't have super bright without having your spotted dark areas. So we want to make sure that we go through that when we want to. With a deep background, I think this is actually going to just be that navy color, because you don't want to have it to be black and then black. It's you want to have your super black and then we have our navy, and then we can also, like, I'm sure when I do the final, what I'll do is I'll leave a few lines in here like this so that I know when I'm coloring that I'm not even write it. I put color hold beams. And I'll leave that note there until I color it. I'll just write it on there. Special Edgar Alt. Hello. How's it going? Someday I'll find a way to do a comic where I can fill out the spacing the way I want it, like this. and have enough of a finish to where I don't have to feel like I'm drawing the page 2 or 3 times. That's one of those feelings that just gets super old. Because you don't want to lose momentum, you don't want to lose that creative energy that you have going. And I know that I have it, but I think that fervor of my creative energy really is in the first pass of figuring out all the storytelling. I think that's where I have my most creative gusto, as it were. There's a lot of dark shadows in this special area, like in this page. So there's going to be a lot of framing, so we're going to see these 2 panels up here will pop more just because there's less ink in them. And then when we see these figures in front of these lesser inked areas, hopefully they'll pop more. And then the framing that happens here with the shade and everything, and with him breaking the panel, hopefully that gives this face like a lot of punch when you get to it in the reading experience. So that's the hope. That's the goal. I want to have lots of surprises and people that not want to stop reading it. You want to help guide them to the next page. It's 9 o'clock. Maybe we can do just a little bit. Maybe we can do our panel borders in our side first. We'll take that out. We'll try with the brush pen. Hopefully it's got enough to feel a little low. But, oh yeah, maybe I'll refill this thing. That's basically out. So we can try my other one. There we go. As we all know, part of the look of Undersea Hero are these organic kind of chunky panel borders that I've been doing. I started doing them on my Axis Helena fantasy stuff, and I just found that I really liked the way that they read, especially when you pair it with hand lettering and the same artist doing everything. It just has this nice, almost like cadence. I don't know what the right word is. It has the right feel to it for me. Hey, no worries, Jay. I didn't know you were still here. I'll catch you later. Oh, thanks. Yeah, they're just they're frozen by the activation of the submarine that's behind them. I don't know if I adequately explained the whole scene. I think I did earlier in the stream, but you can see this is the correlator right here, and then this is his ship, and it's busted. And then Professor Prawn, after being buried under, I'll show you the page. The previous page, he's like buried under a pile of wires. This is Professor Prawn. And then the next page, he's slamming the two of the wires together to get the ship to start running again. And then that's the eyes lighting up, showing that it's still on. And then that's the correlator being like, yes, my plan finally, after all the bumbling and all the bad things that happened, is coming. Everything's gonna work out for the bad guy. Thank you. This is actually one of the last easier pages in the book to draw, so that's another reason why I've been slow lately. I got sick and then uh, threw out my back, which that was not fun either. But I was actually able to draw when my back hurt. But it was when I got sick that I was able to get nothing done. A second round of COVID in my lifetime. Do not recommend. 0 stars. That's what I like to do. Panel movers. Let's work on our sound effects here. Let's grab some of our trusty pens. Get our zig. Let's start with the zig. It's got a nice feel to it. Now it's an electrical effect, so we want some of the things to be a little bit electrical. I don't want it to look like a buzzing sign, but I want it to have that feeling of like a cracking energy. Mike says he's impressed. How do I keep a straight line making that thing? The totality of the line is straight, but the line itself has a lot of bounce to it, like from A to B. And I think part of the illusion that I get is from that bounce in the line. I think I get a little bit of forgiveness, visual forgiveness, by having that intentional bounce to it. That's just a theory. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people see it differently. Maybe they look at it and they're just enraged by the fact that it's not perfectly smooth, straight line. The only stuff I've ever drawn that definitely enraged people was my version of the Hulk. I've never seen such a negative reaction to how I draw a character, except to, especially early on in my career, how I used to draw the Hulk. Specifically his haircut. It does look more handmade, exactly. That's the exact feeling. You hit the nail on the head. You don't want it to look like a person did it. And it fits with my handwriting. So when you see the pages lettered, there's a it's like playing a chord instead of a single note. You can see I'm playing 3 notes at once instead of just hitting one key on the piano. Or pulling one string on the guitar, however you want, whatever musical analogy you want. I don't know. I was reading some new comics the other day, and their sound effects were all basically just like a typographical shape dropped in. Like they would just type it with a different font and then just put it on top of the artwork, and it was so clearly just sitting on top of the artwork that it was so. I'm not going to say it was distracting, but it was very obvious, and it didn't match with the lines at all. And that's a trick that really great letterers are good at. Like I think of Tom Orzechowski, I think of John Workman. Um, yeah, there's a ton of great letterers out there that are able to, through the use of their, you know, their tools, their hand tools, look at the artwork and find a way to make the lettering a part of it more. I find that to be a tougher task to do with digital fonts, is to make it more unified. And there's some that can do it. There's some that are terrific. I don't think that I'm one of them. So that's why I actually went back to hand lettering about a year ago. And I think the overall comic reading of my stuff is better because of it. Like I actually think that, you know, one of the big weaknesses of my work on the Tick was the letterers, the way that he used his fonts. They were lettered by the art director Bob Polio, and he has such amazing hand lettering. Like on the old Tick comics, like when I first heard he was lettering this stuff, I was like, oh, this is great. I just love the way he does this stuff, but it just never happened. Uh, 3-stack 86. Pizza, 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 hand. I did do Ninja Turtles comics, so maybe it's a Ninja Turtles fan. I don't know. They'll have to chime in beyond the emoji level. Have we got? Are we at emoji level? I don't know. There's some, like on Twitch, I know that people make their own, and they can make stickers and all kinds of stuff. I've never gotten too far into the Twitch experience. This is on Twitch right now, so like I should know that platform better. I just don't. Right, there's my applications. There it is. I did do Ninja Turtle comics. I did TMNT Animated Adventures. It was all variant covers. I did TMNT Universe. I did the alternate cover for the first appearance of Jenica on the regular series, issue 51. I did a late issue 99. I did the TMNT Ghostbusters. And then I did one of the TMNT Batman Adventures covers. I think that was all. I think that's all the TMNT stuff I've done. If you go, I mean, I don't have them for sale, but if you can look them up on eBay and probably find some there. You can see the covers on my website if you want to just see them. You know, you don't have to commit to purchasing my stuff. It was all at IDW. The first time Bobby Curnow was the editor on the books. I know that he's back. Actually, I haven't talked to him since he's been back. Last time I saw Bobby was at San Diego 2 years ago. Well, I don't think I saw him last year. Maybe I saw him and we didn't say hi. But I think the last time I said hi to him was a couple years ago. His face is bothering me. Yeah, Ninja Turtles. I have to go through everything, but I did the Tick the longest. I was on the Tick book for 10 calendar years. So it was not 10 years of a monthly book, but for 10 years I did different books for the Tick. is too. I gotta fix the neck. It's too big. The most expensive one is the first Jack, the issue 51 cover. She went on to be the fifth turtle. The yellow bandana. They gave her own series and stuff, and I won't be surprised if she's in future video game movies, etc. I had absolutely nothing to do with the creating of the character, and had no idea that she was going to be a big deal when I did the book, so it was just kind of happenstance. Blind luck, as they call it. But yeah, this is what you stumbled on, is me working on my creator own book. It was funded through Kickstarter, and we've just been working away at it, and we'll keep working at it on the stream until she's done. Let's go check that out. Fix the rest of it doesn't work. Yeah, feel free to just see the covers. Doesn't cost anything. Just check them out. Something like that. It's mostly because there's not a look of like too much stability in the shoulder. Yeah, I grew up on TMNT. I'm of that age group where, if you were my age, kids talked about Ninja Turtles on the playground. We had toys, saw the movies, all that jazz. I saw the first live action one in the theater as a little kid. I remember less than a year later, the second one was in theaters, and they had like a poster giveaway. And the little mini poster's still on my childhood bedroom wall at home in my parents' house. I don't like that face, so I'm just trying to draw a one that fits more of the look we're going for. The crop is so important when something is partially cut off by a panel. And that one was just too far up the ladder, as I would say. Midpoint of the face is the base of the nose, so we need to actually bring this chin up some. Let's head up some like this. If you can draw a boot, you can draw an Undersea Hero's head. It's really what it is. It's a boot. Yes, I am. This November I will be 40 years old. I've been drawing comics professionally since. To me, I think of professionally as you make your first sale. So I would say 2003. So 21 years. My first licensed project was actually TMNT Animated Adventures #4. That was in 2013. So 24, so 11 years since my first licensed project. This face is much better. Once we get this face, no, it is perfectly okay. And the light source obviously is down over here from this angle, so we're going to have up here, on top of the cheekbone there. This one side of his face, I think it will be. That would be something like that. Actually, I think we probably put a bit more there. And we'll keep noodling with it, but you get the idea. Let's take another look. You can see Professor Prawn pushes the wires together, the eyes light up in front of the two characters squaring off, and then the correlator is very excited. So I feel like tomorrow we can start throwing some ink on here. So I think we really achieved what we wanted to get done tonight. And thank you guys for hanging out with me. We had some new people over on YouTube. So special Edgar Alf and let's see, Michael DeFonte. He's a well-known denizen of this stream and well appreciated. 3Stack 86. What else we got? and Jimmy Reyes art. So, Ethan, everybody, it was good to see you. Jay popped in for a little bit. Next week we'll be working on another page. I'll get this one done in the meantime, and we'll keep on keeping on. So I hope you have a lovely weekend, and see you all next week. Thanks for joining me. Good night.